Something that's been on my mind is habits. Good, bad, old or new. Habits that came from childhood, conditioning, tradition being passed down. Habits that we develop as coping mechanisms, whether those are good or bad as well. And how to break out of bad habits. Be honest with you, I don't want to act like I have the answers. Instead, I want to be transparent and talk about some of the things I'm dealing with. Um, a lot of it has to do with diet. Now, I definitely don't have the worst diet, especially compared to the standard American diet. However, due to a few different reasons, I do struggle with craving like sweet stuff and things that are like, I guess you call them empty carbs, like bread, pasta, you know what I mean? And things like that. And as I've, done my own research and also just getting to know my body and reflecting back on, things that I learned throughout my life, I've come to realize that the science behind it is that a lot of these things we consume affect the dopamine in our brains, which is essentially the hormone or the pleasure hormone specifically. It's the same part of our brain that lights up when you exercise or when you're laughing or you eat a piece of chocolate or if you're having sex or you're exercising, so forth and so on. And what I'm trying to get across is that I find that this particular thing for me kind of steers a lot of my other actions, because your mind and your body are craving things that distract from you being able to focus in other areas. Now, I'm not saying this is 100% the case for everyone. It's not my point. My point is to share something that I consider to be a habit that I want to get under control and how it has like branches that affect other aspects of my life. Because too much sugar obviously can make people diabetic. It's not a problem I have, thankfully. People can gain a lot of weight. It can affect your bones and your muscles and a whole lot of other things. You know what I mean? It can affect your energy and your mood because if you crave sugar or things that turn into sugar in the body, such as pasta, white pasta specifically, rice, sugar itself, any kinds of cake and candy, it doesn't matter if it's so-called all natural or not, all of that stuff. Unless the sugar is coming directly from fruit or from a whole food source, it's going to throw things out of balance. But on top of that, outside of just the food and the physical component, I find myself, just staring at my phone a little too much. That's very common these days in so-called modern society, right? And before that, obviously, people were sitting in front of the television, because these things have been around for decades upon decades, and it's just ingrained into our world now. And so even though I'm getting things done and I'm working on myself and I'm trying to change my life for the better, and I've made significant progress in both my physical health and my mental health and how the two things merge, and even these habits that I'm, expressing to you, I know that there's room for more progress. So like tonight, it took me a little while to get myself together. And I decided, to take a walk, nice little distance to the supermarket. Grabbed a few things, a few gallons of water, some veggie burgers, right? And then I walked back. I had a lot of layers on, so I was working up a sweat. And I decided to take the bags with the gallons and just like this, like that, one at a time while I'm walking, breathing. You know what I mean? And it felt good. It felt like a real workout. And, nothing too intense, but the point was it's a nice crisp night. It's cold, but not freezing. And it was just a choice in my mind to do that. Besides that, just a little self-care before I left the house. You know what I mean? Just simple things, man. It's just like you got to keep up with yourself. And, even just from the perspective of as a man, particularly a black man in America, we're not even taught to take care of ourselves. And then just being a man in general, the responsibilities that you either do have or are expected of you to handle. And anytime you fall short, you can spiral into those other areas, like not eating well, like being distracted by things that just make you feel good temporarily. I think one of the main things is that we got to start sharing more, and not be afraid to be vulnerable despite the ridicule that will come from, or potentially can come from, other men, from women, the ideologies that we've been conditioned with. Like, it takes a lot of strength to just be able to see beyond that. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I hope this resonates with somebody, and I would like feedback. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if it's not something that you leave as a comment on this video, I'm putting it up on all my social media, including YouTube. But, DM me. Let's have some conversations. Let's support each other, even if it's just moral support. Right? So, peace and love to everybody. And let's just use this as maybe an initiative to form something. You just never know what can come from putting thoughts and ideas out there. You know what I mean? All right, y'all.